I'd like to open the governance meeting. Ms. Stewart, can you present the agenda?
Yes, so we need to do a roll call. So roll call, Vice President Wright,
Vice President, okay.
Secretary Ramsdale,
Present.
Treasurer Green, Trustee McIntosh,
Present.
Trustee Perry.
Present.
So we have one absent, which is Trustee Green. At this time, the committee will allow for any public comments. Stephen, do we have any public comments?
Good evening. There are currently no public comments.
Okay, I think it's fine with opening. I don't know what's going on.
Public members that have joined our meeting remotely are able to submit their comments prior to the meeting by sending an email to FBOE@flintschools.org or by submitting them to this platform to be read aloud. Members of the public are reminded that the Board of Education, by its bylaw 1370, are not obligated to answer questions, make statements, or comments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such issues will be referred to the superintendent for investigation, study, or recommendation. At this point in time, we do not have any comments, so we will move on with our agenda. The agenda for today is the purchasing policy discussion. I now defer to Mrs. Sikowski.
Good evening, board members. I have prepared two purchasing policy edits, one for the prior, the older Flint version policy, if you will, and one for the Neola policy. And am I able to show those, Monica? Yep.
You can, or Stephen has them too.
Oh,
so
I got the button. Okay, got it.
Got it. Great.
Okay, thank you. So on the first one here is the purchasing policy for the Flint policies, and what I have highlighted in yellow and bolded would be the additions to the current policy. Currently, our board policy provides that all purchases, regardless of the amount, will come before the board for prior approval. What we're doing here is asking that any purchases under $5,000, as long as they do not exceed the board approved budget, would require no further action. And all purchases over $5,000 would have to come before the board. So I do note in here that no purchases can be split to avoid proper board approval. So we wouldn't be able to take a $9,000 purchase and split it into two to avoid board approval. This just allows us to make those little incidental purchases that we may need to, especially in the operations department when something breaks, or it gives us an ability to get those repairs, if they're small, done without having to wait and take it to the board. And with maintenance, it's hard to know in advance exactly what may be needed in the upcoming month. At the bottom of the purchasing policy, currently the superintendent has 3 emergency purchases that would stay up to $5,000 in a transaction. That would stay the same, but it would just be if it exceeded the board approved budget. So if we needed something that wasn't identified at the time the budget was approved and it was $4,000, all the same information would come to the board to let them know within the 24 hours, just as it happens now. But it would only be for those purchases that weren't identified or or would be in addition to the board approved budget. And purchasing for the Neola policy, again, what's highlighted in yellow, we added a statement here kind of based on conversations that have happened, just to, put right in our policy that, it has to be necessary and essential for the district before we're purchasing. The first or the second highlighted would be making, I believe this is just an error. If you read this informal price quotations, currently says $0 to 500. I believe it should be 5,000 because when it goes to the next one, we talk about exceeding 5,000, we need 3 competitive price quotes. So I think that's a correction because as of right now, between 501 and 4,999, we're saying we don't need anything. So I think we just want to just make that correction. And then on the second page, again, where contracts, currently this is what the Neola policy says, is that contracts are awarded without board approval for a single item costing less than 5,000. So kind of talked about this in the past as there's been a couple of conflicts, but we would be adding on that verbiage of as long as it doesn't exceed the board approved budget, just trying to make the two policies be in line with each other so that there's no confusion, because as you can see right now, this is saying we can purchase with less than 5,000. And the emergency purchase, I just added that same paragraph at the bottom of Neola that's in the Flint policy. So it's the same exact sentence. The superintendent can approve 5,000 3 times if it's above board policy. So those are the two purchasing policy with my edits in there for your approval.
Now, is there any way to combine those two so that we don't, I mean, I know we have Neola and I know we have the Flint schools, but is there a way to combine the two of those so that there is only one policy that we're looking at?
When you say combine the two of them, Mrs. Wright, what do you mean?
I mean, the Neola and are the numbers the same?
The amounts the same?
Oh, no, I'm talking about the policy number.
Oh, the policy numbers. Okay, I got you. So you're, I'm seeking understanding. I'm lost. You're asking, is there a way to combine the two policies for review or to combine the two policies and make them one?
To combine the two related to policy to make them, to create one policy.
I understand. Okay, I got you.
So whatever verbiage is missing from one, either you're adding to Neola or you're adding to Flint, so that you only have, and then both the two would be void because you now have one. You understand? Or one of them would be void because you have the other. So that wouldn't matter to me.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So right now we're looking at the two.
Right.
And the recommendation is that we make a decision between the two and we only keep one of them.
Correct. That's
the recommendation. So one would fall off and one would stay. So either we would stay with the Neola and the Flint would fall off, or we would stay with the Flint and the Neola policy would fall off.
Right. So we just make decisions about which one it would be.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that's just a suggestion, but this will go to the committee of the whole. Ms. Perry, did you have a concern about that? I saw you did.
Ms. Perry, when you're finished, I'd like to speak too.
Okay.
I can't see you, Mrs. Ramsdale.
I know I am on my phone, so that's all right. That's why I spoke up. I understand. Go ahead, Ms. Perry.
I just wanted to make a statement for you, Betty, because Diane and I sit on finance. Last week, when this was presented to us, my only request was even when there is an emergency purchase or any of the purchases under 5,000, at least just give the board an executive summary saying that this is what was bought and how much was spent.
Okay. We
I,
can add that, Mrs. Perry.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Ms. Perry, I think that's a very good add-on. I
Okay.
think, I think, you know, what money is spent, we'd be notified, but I like the under 5,000 that they can go ahead and do, because we would be meeting every week, or something would be going on all the time. And it just seems to make sense to do the under 5,000. And yeah, then, as you suggested, send a message or something out stating that's what it is. And so everybody's always in the know, but, and it can be questioned at the next board meeting if there's a question about it. But no, I'm very comfortable with all of that. And as Ms. Wright says, if there's some kind of verbiage in the Neola policy that would enhance the Flint policy, that's fine. As long as the policy is just one policy and it states what we're going to do, that's all I think that's important.
Right.
So that I'm clear, under 5,000, you want an executive summary, or do you want the board to be notified? Because I heard Mrs. Perry say one thing, and then I think I heard Mrs. Ramsdale say that she just wanted the board to be notified. So I'm not sure on which one you want.
Well, and yes, now that you brought that up, I did kind of misspeak there. I guess.
It's okay. I just need to know which one so that we can put it in we can write it in.
I'm trying to put together an answer that summarizes it. To notify me that you paid a referee to referee a game is not worth an executive summary. I'm trying to think of how busy everybody is, the time consumed.
No,
I guess.
Can I help you with that, Mrs. Ramsdale?
Pardon me?
I said, can I help you with that one?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, I think that the president should be notified, and then the board gets a summary at their next meeting.
Okay.
That's fine.
I mean, you know, because if the superintendent is meeting regularly with the board president, then they should be, that should at least be, that person should be notified immediately. And then the board gets the summary at the very next meeting. Then you kind of got all this covered.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. And
can do
that's
that.
fine, but let me ask you this, since you've been president. How time consuming would that be for you as president?
The president is meeting with the superintendent depending on their schedule every week or every other week. So it wouldn't be an additional burden to the president, because Stuart, you're meeting with Mr. Lester every week or bi-weekly by phone or whatever, aren't you?
Bi-weekly.
So.
Okay, so Ms. Wright, are you thinking like they would just hand you a list of all the things, and the treasurer, of course, would have seen these too, but they would just give you a list of this is what the expenditures were since the last time we met, and you'd look it over, and you know, it could be part of the board packet for the next time, but if there was something there that, you know, you thought needed more detail, you would bring it up?
Well,
I have a question, and maybe this might help. Carrie emails you guys the check registry. Carrie, do you email the check registries? Have I been seeing those emails?
Yes, you do.
Go out once a month, twice a week. Carrie, how often do you email that out?
When we cut checks. So
Okay.
usually it's a bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly, the check register?
Yeah, but due to COVID and the trying to wrap things up for the audit, it's been a little bit more frequently, but our goal is to be bi-weekly.
Okay, so does that satisfy Ms. Perry, Ms. Ramsdale, the check registry that comes out bi-weekly so that you can see any and everything that all the transactions that we've done?
That would be fine with me. Yeah.
I think Well, if you're going to do it that way, that needs to be highlighted that this was one of those types of purchases, so we know. But just putting in the check registry, that's not doing me any good.
Okay,
That's
okay.
I think it's better to have the president notified and then a summary at the board meeting. So then that's separate and beyond, or it's not, it's in the registry, but what we want to know is about those emergency purchases. So
The emergency purchases, got it.
that's the
Okay,
most, in my
no,
mind, that's the simplest way to
Yeah.
do it.
okay.
President-
If I have to make any emergency purchase that speaks to this highlighted section here, that is the conversation that I would have had with the board president.
Correct.
Okay, and then we give an update at the board meeting. Okay, so just the emergency purchase.
Yeah, right. To me,
Okay.
that's the simplest way. And then
Okay.
automatically, if you wrote a check, it's gonna be a part of the registry. Check
Got it.
registry.
Yes. Okay, I got confused there. I thought we're just talking about if there's an emergency purchase, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, I was off base there. I was thinking you were talking about, this much more frequent. Yeah, no, that's fine with me. That's on target with me. Absolutely, Ms.
Okay.
Wright.
Okay.
All right.
So do you guys do we need to add that under this yellow highlighted section for emergency purchases? No? Add it or no?
Well, I think that just so that everything is clear, it's not a bad idea.
Okay, so Carrie, under the highlighted section, can you put another sentence or something in your revision which says that for the if I make any emergency purchases, that I will notify the board president immediately?
Or at your regularly scheduled
Says
meeting.
within 24 hours right now.
Okay, it's within 24 hours right now. Okay, perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
And then you're gonna add a summary for the board at the next scheduled meeting or something.
Yes.
like
Ms.
Okay.
McIntosh is trying to get in.
See, I can't see her, so it's
I can't see her either, but she's talking, so.
okay.
I'm on the computer, but I like that. I like everything that everybody said.
McIntosh.
Especially, I like everything. Can you hear me?
I hear you now, yeah.
I like everything everybody said. I just like those items after they've been discussed and they're coming to us. Can you put an asterisk, like they said, highlighted in yellow, but can we have an asterisk by those items that have not been discussed and forced in so we can know those items are emergency items? Highlighted, but the asterisk, I like that. I like
Okay.
asterisk.
Okay,
Something on the registry.
so they let you know that it was an emergency purchase. Okay,
Yes, ma'am. So they will stand out. Yes.
okay.
Yes. Thank you. That's it. for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think, Ms. Carey, if I understand correctly, that last sentence, maximum of 3 each month with notification to the board president within 24 hours, and then the rest of the board at the next scheduled board meeting.
That's good for me.
All right. Notification to, can you just put board president? Yeah, yes, and then put board president within 24 hours and the rest of the board at the next scheduled board. Yes, perfect. And then just put president behind that one. Yes, ma'am. I think that covers what it is that they've requested. Okay. Awesome. All right. Okay.
Do we need to take
Anything
a
else
vote?
for discussion? Oh, sorry.
Do we need to take a vote?
No,
Yeah, this will be part of the next board agenda anyway, the CAL, so, because it has to be taken to the full board, so all we
Okay.
need to do is just move, do we move this forward, Mrs.
no.
Yes, we do. Well, we have to,
You don't
don't
have
we
to
move
move.
it forward? Yeah.
This one doesn't have to be moved, but I don't have a problem moving it.
Well, no, it's not, I know it's on the next agenda. So if it's already there, it doesn't matter as long as we can vote on it in the next meeting. So
Right,
we
yeah,
can get this straightened out and just move on with some more important things.
yeah.
Not
So
that money's not important, yeah.
it's already on the agenda because I think I picked up my pack today, so we can just, is there any more discussion about this?
So that I'm clear, both the Flint and the Neola goes to the regular cow, and then at the regular cow, will the board decide on which one?
Well, you see, now we're back to confusion because my suggestion was to take what's needed out of both of them and create one.
Yes,
So
I
not
agree with that.
deciding one or the other. It's about making sure that one of them includes what's needed from both of them, whether it's the Neola or the Flint. If there's something in the Flint policy that's not in Neola, we need to add it. If there's something in Neola that's not in Flint, we need to add. You need to just create one from the two, is what I'm suggesting. Not that we decide one or the other, because obviously there was something missing in both of them, which is why we have Neola. But then Neola didn't quite do what we thought it did initially. So my suggestion is take the best of the language out of both and create one.
Well, Ms. Wright, may I make a suggestion just so that we don't spend 10 hours on this at the board meeting?
Right.
Do we
and
want to
that's-
show both of them? Do we want to show both of them and just say, and this is what we condensed it to?
Well, that's what I thought we would be doing tonight, which it does seem to be what has been done, but still we're operating with two policies.
And which I think we thought that we revised both of them and that we were going to make a decision on which one so that the other one came off. I guess I'm confused of if we take the best of both of them, we have to have a reading from governance over that one to make sure that everything that you want is there if we go and take the best from both of them.
Well, I thought that would be expedient, but if I remember correctly, the decision of the board was to kind of go back through these policies, sort of that slow process that we've already been through.
Let me ask you, can I ask this, Carrie?
What you're doing is, if that works, that's fine. Go ahead,
Carrie,
Ms.
Is there one that works best for your office and that you see as the clearest ones, Carrie?
To be honest, if they both say the same thing, then they pretty much say the same parts. We don't talk about the bid protest in this policy and the Flint ones, but I believe we talk about it in the 3615, the federal purchasing policy that the board approved in May or June. So they're just set up a little bit differently, and you kind of have to look at the policies as a whole as well as individually. So you can't really combine the numbers because one's in section 6000 in the Neola and the Flint ones are in section 3000. So that part is a little bit different. So really, once we figure out what it is, if we're going to have two, if we're going to keep the two right now because we're not ready to make that decision, then I think we need to vote them both. We need to approve both of them because we want them to stay the same. And right now they do say they are conflicting of each other, which is kind of where this whole conversation started because one says one thing and the other says another. And you know, being new in my department, I wanted to ensure that I was bringing to the board what they wanted to see. So I wanted some clarification, and that's kind of how all of this kind of, you know, started. So if we're not willing, I think, to make the decision, I think we kind of got to approve both at this point.
But then that brings us back to the conflict, or the original conflict, Carrie, to approve them both.
Yeah.
I
what,
agree.
Mrs. Sakowski, you know what? I wish you would just say, I like this one.
Yes, I'm with you, Vera.
Just tell us which one you like, and we then as a board will move on. But you're giving,
Yes.
you're being too wishy-washy with it, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Please don't take it that way. Tell us the one you want so the board will say, okay, that's what she wants.
Good. Yep.
To be fair, I worked with both. I worked with your Flint ones at a different district. They're very similar. I worked with Neola. I worked with Neola as a board member. I will say that Neola pushes a lot and they're a lot more work. You know, you need to have almost quarterly updates that, you know, they'll send quite a few out, and I don't know, you know, that I think we're kind of far behind, so we need to get caught back up if we're going to keep Neola. So really, to be honest, there's pros and cons to both, and I think that's why I'm being wishy-washy. It's really a preference, and I've worked with both of them, and you know, it's really just a board preference on what they want to do. But Neola is a little bit more work, but on the other hand, you know, you're getting your updates. So again, it's a preference call, and that's why I'm not going to say either way. Administratively, we have to write our own policies, or, you know, use a firm to help us write policies if we stay with the older ones. You know, that would have to be a commitment that your administration has to take on, but it's certainly doable. So really up to you.
How much more work is
I
it?
couldn't go shopping with you.
Sorry.
How much more, Carrie, how much more work is the board one, or is the Neola one than the board one? I mean, are you talking like hours? What are you talking?
I know, again, on my board that I sit on, we use Neola, and we have a policy. We only do them about quarterly, and it is a couple hours, and we do a first reading and a second reading too in our board meetings. But you know, sometimes there's more, depends on what's happening out in the world and what laws are being passed. But it's definitely, it's a commitment. It's definitely a lot to keep up with Neola, because you can quickly fall back. The other thing with Neola, and I think you guys have mentioned this in the past, is the administrative guidelines are not created. So that's some additional work too. So for, you know, I'm certainly, and I know the rest of administration are certainly willing to work with you all to go through that process, but it's definitely going to be a commitment on the board's part to get Neola where it needs to be too. So right now, I think both sets have been neglected. They both need some loving, and we just have to make a decision on which one it's going to be.
I thought we voted on that we asked to put it off, Casey and Danielle Green and Blake and I, and then we said to go with the board policy.
Oh,
that was stated.
Yeah, it didn't happen. Because actually, you guys wanted to stay with Neola too.
sure did.
And because your concern was the amount of money that Mott has spent on it, which is something to be concerned about. However, only as you work with the policy from Neola that you find that there are some gaps still. So as a result, the decision was that we do sort of what Mrs. Sakowski just said, is commit to going through them again. That's really where we left off. And the, you know, the major problem is, you know, the board changes. And so the majority of people who sat through all of the work of the Neola, they're no longer here. So in order for the current people to be happy, they're gonna have to go through them again. So as Ms. Sakowski said, we just have to commit to going through them.
To go through all the Neola policies again, I think I'd be really glad I was going off the board if I had to do that. But yeah, but I don't have, this one policy, the purchasing policy is kind of different. So just to find a good purchasing policy, whether it follows totally Neola or not, if it's just a good purchasing policy that keeps the board informed, then I'm all for it. I can't see how anybody would complain about that.
And you just repeated what I was requesting, Mrs. Ramsdale, was that we take the language that we need from both and have one. But
Absolutely.
Then the previous board's decision was to keep both policies, and the old policy supersedes Neola. That was if there's a question, then the old policy supersedes Neola.
I think I'm following you, but I think I agree with you. To have two policies, that just to me would mean, okay, so it's convenient to use this policy for this and that policy for that. To just have one, as long as it just keeps track of the money and people are informed. And to me, that sounds like the new, old policy does that. If you want to throw a sentence in there from.
Did you say the old? Did you say the Neola?
The old policy does that.
Okay, the old.
Okay, but all right, but if you want to throw a sentence in there from Neola and something, and say, in addition to, we'll do this, then do it. But I think, like Ms. Wright said, to kind of take them and just combine them. And as long as we know where the money is going, we've got a line that it has to be reported to the board. The superintendent is notifying if there's an emergency one. Those are the major things. So, I just think that's, as Ms. Wright said, if we need to have a couple sentences from each so it works out right, I don't have any issue with that. And now I'll be quiet.
Ms. Perry, Ms. McIntosh, any comment on that?
Nope.
Ms. McIntosh, are you still there?
I'm here. I don't have any comments.
Well, my only suggestion is take it to the meeting on Wednesday and see what happens.
Okay, so I think it's just me. I'm still not clear on what we're taking to the meeting on Wednesday.
I'm not either.
I'm here taking to the meeting on Wednesday, but I'm not clear. What are we presenting on Wednesday at the GAO?
Actually, everything we just did.
Everything we just did. Okay, got it.
Up with any recommendations, so.
Okay.
Because my hope would have been that we would have had a recommendation, but it sounds like we're kind of not getting to that point. So, but
I'm with you now.
I'm kind of with Mrs. Ramsdale. I don't want to spend 2 hours on that,
Nope. Okay, I'm with you. All right. So I'm clear on what we're doing on Wednesday.
You said
Mr. Kelsey, are you clear on what we're doing on Wednesday? I'm clear on what we're doing on Wednesday.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. That is it for the agenda, Mrs. Wright.
Okay. What's the date for the next meeting?
Our next meeting the next meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 13th, 2020. And we do need to, due to some new rules and things that came out with Title IX, we do need to look at our Title IX policy. So Mrs. Wright, when you and I have our pre-governance meeting to set the agenda, that is one of the things that I will be talking to you about.
Okay, sounds good. That sounds
All right.
fine.
Awesome.
Any other comments from the other board members?
Nope.
Were you done, Mrs. Stewart?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
All right. Have a
Okay,
good
take
night.
care, everyone. Everybody,
All right.
yep.
Good.
Bye-bye.